Mike, thank you very much for coming on the show. We'd like to welcome Mike Michalowicz to the Qualified Tutor podcast. Mike really needs no introduction. This is, I guess, more of a formality for our listeners. Mike is a superstar of the entrepreneurial world. And it almost seems strange to think of an expert in small businesses and niche markets as world famous. But Mike really is that. Mike's got an incredible range of free resources and tools for small business owners, and that will be that's available on his website and will also be available in the show notes below, along with the links to his best-selling books. So our favorites are The Surge and The Pumpkin Plan. But Mike, thank you for joining us. I know you have a busy schedule. We're delighted for you to be here speaking to tutors who don't often see themselves as businesses. Welcome.
Ludo, thank you for having me. And Julia, it's good to see you. It's a pleasure to be with you.
So let me just jump in here and explain to you why I reached out to you. I think that there is an exciting. We all know that there's an exciting moment happening in tutoring right now, and tutoring is being pushed and thrust into mainstream education. In fact, we were always there. It's just that we were in the shadows. So,
Right.
in 2019, 1 in 4 children had a tutor. But there was no regulation and no training and no conversation around that. And COVID has pulled us out of the shadows and thrust us into schools and made us the go-to person for parents. And all of a sudden, people are talking to us in this very formal and formalized way. And it's created lots of opportunities. It's created opportunities for small businesses, and it's created opportunities for tutors to see themselves as young fledgling businesses. So in some cases in our community, we have teachers who are gathering together with other teachers and creating small academies of online training. And in other cases, those will be, again, a teacher who will collect up some tutors and start putting them out there to work with children. And then sometimes these are students, postgrad or undergrad, who are beginning to see that tutoring is actually a viable career choice. And so this is an undeveloped conversation, and we don't like to talk about the things that we are not experts on around here. We rather give a platform to an expert like you. So we don't talk about payments and accounting in QT. We talk about teaching and learning. That's our specialism. So in order to serve our community, we've invited you to come on and speak to us about growing our businesses and our career route in what feels right now like uncharted territory.
Good. Well, that's why I'm here to talk about it. Let me start off by saying this, is that you, the tutors, have a responsibility to become good at business, because the work you do is so critically important, right? I mean, it's interesting how you're saying we're taken from the shadows, you're thrust into the limelight. Your work has always been important, but it's the client's awareness, right, that has shed light on this. Like, my gosh, this is the most important element of education now and for the foreseeable future. The thing is, for us to sustain the work we're doing, for us to have the impact we need to have, we have to be good at the business aspect. And I'm not saying you need to be a business mogul, that you don't have to study business all the time, but we have to understand and master the fundamentals. For us to deliver the value with deliver, it needs to be backed by a good infrastructure. So you got to do it. And there's different elements we can explore around finance and sales and marketing and efficiency, but all those elements need to be touched on.
So go ahead.
Okay. So let's start foundationally of where we need to be. It starts off, I wrote a book called Fix This Next. And in Fix This Next, I talk about the 5 levels of business needs. It's similar to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And the nice thing about talking with tutors is most tutors will get this. They know what Maslow's hierarchy is, that this is a human need structure. You know, we have physiological needs. We need to breathe air, drink water, eat food. Only when that's adequately satisfied can we elevate to higher level needs of protection from elements, weather, then belonging to a community, experiencing companionship. Highest level is self-actualization. But anytime a base level need is compromised, we must go back to that base level need. If I can't breathe air, our conversation is outside the window. I got to start breathing quickly. So in business, we have a hierarchy of needs. I call it the business hierarchy of needs. Foundationally, our tutoring business needs sales. If you have no sales, you have no oxygen, no revenue coming into your business. No oxygen, you're suffocating. But it only needs to be adequate. The goal isn't just to get more and more oxygen. That causes hyperventilation. The goal is to get adequate sales to support the next level up, which is profit. Profit is the extraction of that cash into the muscle of the business. It's the absorption of the oxygen. It brings about stability. Part of the reason, chances are you're a tutor, is you're doing something that serves your community, that gives you freedom, personal freedom to do what you want and the way you want, and also financial security. So I don't have to worry about bills. Well, that financial security is paramount. If you are worried about how you're going to cover the bills, we can't be the best of us to our clients, to our students. If you don't have that financial stability, we're more focused about making the next sale than we are in caring for our student. So we have to be profitable. Once that profit is sustainable, it's mechanized, it happens regularly, then we elevate to the next level, which is efficiency. I call it order. Order is where we start removing dependency off of any individual. As a tutor, if you're doing all the work all yourself, at a certain point, you are limited. You can't work more hours. So we start removing some of the work. And maybe the tutoring is your passion. Maybe we can take the accounting off of your plate, maybe the invoicing, maybe the scheduling, but we can start taking away those elements. And if you want to grow your business even further, we can take the tutoring component, at least in part, away from you and start scaling up from that. This is a part where a lot of smaller businesses start losing out. They say, it's just going to be me, but they're compromising the impact they could have. If your joy and service is through being a tutor, all that other work, we can remove that from you. And thank God for this modern internet business society we live in. You can find someone across the ocean or in your backyard, someone who will spend a little bit of time each week taking care of small elements of your business. You can have a team of 20 or 30 people doing all little parts of your business with you and for you. So that's efficiency. The interesting thing about this model, those first three levels, then it supports the next two levels. The next level above that is impact. Impact is the creation of transformation, and it's inherent to the tutoring business. What I mean by this is if you do something, it can be transactional or it can be transformational. Impact is about being transformational. It's where what it is. It's moving someone from point A to point B, and their life will never be the same. It's inherent to tutoring. The sad thing is many businesses, tutoring included, do it for this client or that client, this student or that student, but they don't do it systemically. They don't do it for everybody. Systemic is where you consistently have student after student, parent after parent coming saying, this has changed our lives. But the only way to do that is by ensuring that you have consistent sales that generate profit, so you're not worried about surviving, that you have efficiencies so you can continue to do it. Otherwise, they're pot shots. We do everything we can for this one student, but now I don't have enough money, I panic, and I go over here, and it's not systemic. That's why this foundation must be in place. And ultimately, it forms what's called legacy. Legacy, as I define it in a business model, is legacy is where you set your business up to serve clients generationally. So it doesn't necessarily mean that when you're done tutoring that someone else in your family takes over. What I'm saying is that generation after generation of clients come to you because your business is so needed. I just one little final story, and I'd love to answer any questions you have. But I traveled the globe pre-COVID for speaking, not as much right now, but it'll happen again. One of my favorite visits, I was in Guatemala City, which is in Central America. In Guatemala City, there's a business called Envirofiltro. They make these clay pots that are used to filter water. They're infused with silver. And what's interesting is the rural population in Guatemala is very poor. They make about $30 in US equivalent, $30 a month, $1 a day. And you can't really do much with it except for buying firewood. It costs about $20 a month to buy firewood, but you need to buy firewood to boil the water because the water is so polluted in the rural areas that you can't consume it. So they're constantly buying wood to boil water and going back to work to buy more wood. And that's your life. It's very, very hand to mouth living. Well, this company made these filter systems. They sell them to this population, and they sell them profitably. This is not a charity. They sell them to the population and they're making money off it. Well, now what you do, you buy one of these pots for about $30. It takes a month's savings, but you pour water in it and it cleans out the water. These water pots last for about 5 years, which negates the need to buy firewood. So you're saving now $20 a month, which is important and significant. So now you can do greater things with your life. It elevates your life. Well, there is environmental studies that are happening constantly, but there's this one that they send satellites around the globe and they're looking at environmental impact. They noticed that in Guatemala, in this one particular region, that air quality was improving exponentially. They sent out a ground task or ground force to investigate this, and they found that people weren't burning firewood anymore. Not only was this jug making purified water, it was cleaning the air. Mm-hmm. The owner of that company, he came to me and said that day when that study was done, he goes, I had a realization, I've never been a business owner. I've always been a business steward. I realized my responsibility wasn't to own a business, it was to deliver a business to the community, to our world. He's like, I'm a cog in the wheel. I'm part of it. I started it as a blessing, but I got to release this thing. It's got to go. It's got to go because it's changing the world. I hope, anyone listening in right now who's a tutor realizes you have a choice. What you're doing is extraordinary. The world is thirsty. The world's starving for what you're doing. That maybe you decide that you're not just a business owner, something that it stays within the domain of your control. You have something bigger than that. Something that you can contribute to society permanently, to form legacy, and therefore release your business. The way to do that is you've got to build an infrastructure that can sustain. You've got to have a systemic impact and then position it in a way that it can continue on and on, even in your absence. That's the elements I wanted to talk about.
So beautiful.
That's one of the greatest motivations, really, I think, as a tutor or teacher, because it can be it's so rewarding, but you don't often hear it. You don't often hear that back because your client is a student, and children obviously aren't as tuned in to providing kind of feedback like that. And so it's so rewarding to hear that, tutoring has such an important role to play. I think I've definitely found that in my career of even just coming out of school and university. You see teachers and tutors as kind of as these people that have to be there because they're fulfilling some role, but really they're there because they love teaching, and they're actually incredibly inspiring people.
I personally was a beneficiary of a tutor. I've had multiple tutors in my life. In particular, I have dyslexia and struggled with it, and I had a tutor who specialized in learning techniques for someone that has dyslexia, and mine's mild, but I have it. And that became a life changer, a game changer. I struggled to read. I had a reading tutor, Mrs. Michalowicz. I'll never forget. And listen, here's someone who can't read or couldn't read for a period of time, who became a writer. Like, that's like life changing. And we have to first appreciate that about ourselves. I think the challenge we have as business owners, as tutors, whatever capacity you're in, but as tutors, is we actually challenge ourselves. We denigrate the importance of us. Like, oh, I'm exchangeable. I'm a disposable. I do a little job and I'm done. No, you plant a seed for permanent change. So first of all, you have to appreciate your own significance before anyone else is going to see it. And I know it sounds egotistical, but you have to realize how significant and important you are for our globe. Once you see that, then you have a responsibility to market. You got to market the shit out of yourself. This is the funny thing. I can't tell you how many people are afraid to market, but I'm going to put a challenge down right now for every tutor listening in. Let me ask you something. This is rhetorical because I can't hear you, but here it is. What you do, is it important? What you do, is it better than the competition, the alternatives that people are looking at? Is your offering better than the online video training? Is your offering better than potentially these schooling districts or whatever? Is your offering better than your direct competitors? And I can't hear you, but I hope you said yes. I hope you said yes, because I know you're better because you're here listening to this. You're looking to improve yourself. So if you have the ability to change the world and you're better than the alternatives, damn it, you have a responsibility to market yourself. If a student hires or engages an alternative, which is a lesser alternative than you, it's their problem, but it's your fault because you didn't market it. You must market it. You must make people aware of you. I think it's the ultimate sin to say, I'm afraid to market. I don't want to rattle people's feathers. They don't know you exist. So we got to get the word out there. If you offer something superior, you have responsibility to make people aware so they can consume it. We need you. We need you. But we need to know you exist before we can buy from you.
Mike, I have to ask a question off the back of that, because that's made me think so many different things. It's made me think, gosh, I need to go and market myself now, but it's 6:51 p.m. in the evening and I need to make dinner and there's so much else going on. But in a niche, tutoring is in a niche. You can appreciate that, Mike. You spent your life, discussing niches and leading niches. What can a tutor who's in a niche, what can they take from being in a niche market? What is the encouragement that they can take from being in a niche market? And does that make it easier or harder to promote yourself than a huge market?
So when you say niche, I'll call it niche because that's the American pronunciation. And I'll struggle to say niche. So if I tried, I'll start bastardizing it. So I'm going to stick with niche. When you have a niche market, what we need to realize is every community has its own language. We all communicate in our own ways. We have our special words we use, our special understandings. For us to serve a niche community, we are best received when we speak their language, right? So if I can speak your language and understand the community, I am showing an instant transfer of trust. I show that I demonstratively understand what you need. And every community has unique needs. So a community that isn't necessarily like a physical community. It could just be a psychographic, a common religious orientation or sexual orientation, or it could be a certain demographic, wealth or poverty or whatever. But once you start categorically focusing on that community, you learn their language, you master it, and you build a reputation of excellence. When you focus on a community, that saying, birds of a feather flock together, they start seeing you regularly there. You are seen as the authority. Now you don't need to market or sell your way anymore because you're seen as authority, which positions you to be of greater service. I also want to say, it also positions you to raise your rates. But people are like, oh my God, I can't charge more. I'm doing good for society. Isn't that the worst thing to do? And I'm saying the worst thing to do is to charge less. You must charge more. In fact, your clients demand you charge more. Now, here's the deal. No client will ever say, oh, could you charge me more? Could you rip me off a little bit, double the rates on me? But here's what they will say. When you take care of myself or my student, I want to make sure I have your undivided attention. I want to make sure I'm the most important relationship in this moment. I want to be catered to and focused on because I need to learn from you. I want you're all in. The only way to be all in on a customer, to focus on them 100%, is to not worry about money. And the only way to do that is to charge appropriately for the work you do. So you must charge fairly, which is higher than you charge now. Charge fairly so that you can focus on that client. So you're not worried about the next guy. And here's the other benefit. When you charge a student or a client more, they're more engaged. Listen, if I put a diamond in front of this table, in this virtual table in front of us, I say, that's worth 15 pounds. That's cubic zirconia. It's garbage. If I plop that down and I say that diamond's worth 15,000 pounds, well, now we get the tweezers out. We put in a little bag. We put in a safe. The only thing that's changed, it could be the exact same item, is the pricing around it and our perception changes, our engagement. We protect what's expensive. We put value into that number. If you charge too little, people are seeing you as insignificant. They're seeing you as disposable. They don't get engaged. When you charge a higher price point, not only are you more focused on them, more focused on you because now you're valuable. Mm-hmm. So damn it, raise your prices.
It's a funny old thing, isn't it? Because tutors are idealists and we are so worried about marketing ourselves, and you've already touched on it, and we're so worried about putting ourselves forward and putting our prices up, and we're so worried about sort of, will anybody push back, and will we have an uncomfortable conversation? and we're worried about, should we remind you that you haven't paid your bill this week or whatever it is. And we have this, Ludo, you feel this, don't you?
Yeah, and there's that all of that is true, and there's another complexity to tutoring, which I don't know if all tutors feel, but I know that some tutors feel, which is that we earn more per hour than teachers do, which doesn't
That
seem
feels
right, because teachers
unfair,
have so
right?
much more to do than tutors. So,
Yeah, yeah.
Mike,
I'll tell you like this.
how does that work? Where's
Yeah,
the balance there?
I think the mistake we make is that we translate time to money, that there's an hour to dollar translation, and that's 100% wrong. There's impact to dollar translation. If Listen, if I was having a heart attack and one doctor comes to me and says, I can save your life in 1 minute, and another doctor says, it'll take me 5 years to save your life, but I charge less, who am I going to go to? The one who will save my life in the next minute. I will pay my life savings. I will borrow. I'll ask you, can you donate some money? I'll do whatever it takes because it's impacting my life so significantly. Someone can save my life now, or someone can maybe have me hang on, and I don't know if I'm going to make it after 5 years. It's the value delivered. I am not saying that teachers are not valuable. Teachers are extraordinary. But what I am saying is you're extraordinary. As a tutor, in a very compressed period of time, you are having life transformational impact. And again, I'm a student of a tutor. Mrs. Kajavic changed my life. So that few hours a week she spent with me for 10 weeks put me on a trajectory that transformed my life. That is massive value. So don't compare yourself on a dollar for time basis. Focus on dollar for impact.
Beautiful.
It's amazing how, and I use that word a lot, but it is amazing how many of the thought leaders and hugely inspiring people in the world of education and beyond, how many of them come onto this podcast and can remember the name of this specific tutor or teacher who taught them well over 70% of their life ago. It's honestly, I cannot wait for all of my school teachers to be brought up in conversations that I have in the next 20, 25, 30 years. It's testament to the power that they have on you, perhaps as a child, but also when you're older.
Oh, for sure. For sure. The formidable years, you remember those people, those moments that influenced your life. And
Yeah.
I've had tutors and teachers that have been transformational because they did something that was extraordinary for me. They made the hard simple. They translated something I couldn't understand. They made it palatable. They made me believe myself.
Mm.
If you're doing that, you're an extraordinary person.
Mike, this is
Yeah.
again, I'm bursting because you've said something there, and I think that this will be important for the wider community. Do you think it's true that teacher you had could have taught you anything, or do you think they taught you that? As in, when we tutor a student, there is value in the subject we are tutoring them, but there's more value there. Do you mind exploring that a bit?
Yeah, and unfortunately, I have to leave in about 1 minute.
Okay.
So let me answer that question. I'm sorry, I didn't talk about the time in advance. Yes, I think we can teach anything because it's not what we teach, it's how we teach it. My tutor taught me something that was being taught that was a rote teaching routine. She taught something that was digestible and understandable. I think it's the translation she did. She made it speak my language, and that's when it landed.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Mike, we're going to invite you on again. That was just so rich. And next time I'm going to ask you about the envelopes, your mother's envelopes.
Yeah, we'll do it again. We'll talk about that for sure.
Fantastic.
Stay safe, Mike. Thank you very much for joining us.
Be well.
Absolute professional. See you soon. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.